All right. Well, hey, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled How Virtual Exhibiting Can Help Your Company During a Crisis. As many of you know, Pittcon 2021 is going to be a fully virtual event. This is something we've actually embraced a great deal as a positive thing, given the year we've all been going through worldwide here. With me today are Stephanie Kristen, our Expo coordinator. I'm sure many of you know her or have received emails from her, and Miranda Flam, our marketing coordinator, deals with the utmost care on sponsorships for exhibitors. Rocco Pacella, and I am the marketing and communications manager here at Pitt. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce a man that I like to call the Titan of trade shows. I think that's appropriate since I was told by my coworkers here that I look like a broadcaster with these headphones on. Anyway, Titan of trade, Jefferson Davis from Competitive Edge. He's been one of my partners for a very long time because he's full of knowledge. He delivers quality insight for both Pittcon and our exhibitors time and time again, year after year at Pittcon. Many know Jefferson and his team from their very review that they conduct here at the famous version of Pittcon booths, quality of booths, how to make it better. This year, however, as we all know, it's a little different for us all. So we're taking this opportunity to share with you Jefferson's insights on virtual exhibiting. Our purpose today is to really arm you with both perspective and knowledge so that you and your investment in Pittcon are both a success for 2021. So I don't really know anyone who has attended and has been involved with as many virtual trade shows in the past year as Jefferson. So Jefferson, the digital floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Rocco. Hey, and again, thanks for everybody for being here. What a wild and crazy year this has been. Interestingly, Pittcon Live was one of the last shows I was at in March, like most of you. The next week, I went to Atlanta for Modex. And on Friday the 13th of all days, the Live Expo walls came crashing down, and we still haven't come out of it yet. And so for me, once I got past the shock and awe of seeing my entire year of live events cancel, I immediately knew that we were going to pivot to virtual. So I identified the leading virtual event platforms that show organizers were using. And I did an end-to-end review of the platforms, trying to understand the exhibitor-facing functionality and components. And then I gathered my team of 10 trade show experts. And over the months, we've been developing a series of ideas, strategies, and techniques to help exhibitors better plan, promote, execute, and get more value from virtual trade shows. So this is new to us all, and it seems like we're learning something new every day. But what I love about Rocco, Miranda, Stephanie, Tammy, and the entire Pittcon team is they are doing something that many other show producers did not do, which is they're not just going to drag you into a virtual expo and hope you figure this all out on your own. Is we are going to do platform-specific training over 2 sessions to make sure that you understand what to do, why to do, how to do, and give you everything you need to enter into the virtual world successfully. Okay, so let's get started here. Hopefully you've got your workbook. I want to start off with, right now, a lot of companies, have lost revenue. We've lost some of our marketing legs. We've lost our ability to have face-to-face sales meetings and calls. And in response, many companies have pulled back their marketing activity. And I'm not sure that is a great idea. Write this phrase down. It's not in your workbook. In the business world, out of sight really is out of mind. And what you don't want to do, is become invisible and disappear. Because if you do, you're going to leave the doors wide open for your competition to come in and take away your accounts. So, we've got to stay active in our marketing. So one of the reasons why is because this pandemic has knocked everybody off center, right? Everything got changed overnight, it felt like, is that people's attention to media and content consumption has increased dramatically over the coming months. For example, when we were doing these previous exhibit webinars, we might get, 40, 50 exhibitors. When we're doing virtual exhibit training, we're getting 300, 500, 700 exhibitors showing up. And the same thing is happening with your customers, is that their attention now has increased because everything has been knocked off center. And to me, that represents a great opportunity for you as a marketer. Number two, again, some of your competitors may very well be reducing their spend and their activity. And what this will mean for you is that there's less noise in your marketplace. And so it gives you the opportunity to really step in and fill, some of that space and grab more visibility, grab more brand awareness, ultimately grab more customers. Because customers have new problems and new needs, right? That's the opportunity. And it's important for each one of us right now as marketers and, manufacturers to step back and ask ourselves, what are the specific problems that our customers are facing right now? What new needs do they have? And how do we position our products and our services as a solution to these new problems, right? And a way to satisfy these new needs. Remember, new has always been a magnet at trade shows, but now that your customers have these new needs and new problems, this is a great opportunity for you to step back and really increase your visibility out there. So I believe now and over the coming months is the perfect time for every company to step into this gap, if you will, expand your visibility, increase your brand awareness. Now, there's two kind of major ways that we do that. One is advertising, right? So continuing to advertising. And the value of advertising is it really helps increase customer awareness. And it tends to work best when you're emphasizing specific products and specific services, and you're using direct response type advertising as a way to generate leads. Maybe you're going to have a white paper or a case study, and you're going to use that as a lead magnet in your advertising. So when they click, they go to a landing page, and you're able to capture their name, company, email address, and then electronically deliver what we call your lead magnet. So advertising is one side of it, and the other side is sponsorships. So these two methods of marketing really have different cognitive processes in how people engage with them. Again, advertising builds awareness of companies' product services, but sponsorships tend to improve people's perceptions of the company that is sponsoring. And these are different. So my first suggestion here would be that take a look at what advertising media are available to you right now that are industry specific. Decide which product services are the best fits, what problems they solve, and use that lead magnet approach. But with sponsorships, right, what you're doing is supporting the industry, supporting the market, right? And you're getting that perception change. It's kind of like, think about it, a live event, right? And over the years, maybe you have sponsored some form of a event. Maybe it is a reception or an educational session. And so your brand identity is getting attached to that event. And what it does is the people who go to the event, right? They go, wow, that's a pretty cool company, right? Why aren't we doing business with them, right? So what it tends to do is your sponsorships will have the power to increase their likeliness to consider you and your company for both current needs and future purchase intent. So what I'd like to do is just launch a quick poll here. I would like to find out right now, since we're talking about it's really important to stay active in your marketing, is are you currently contracted for the upcoming Pittcon virtual event? Quick answer, it's a yes or no. I'll give you just a few moments to complete this poll. It looks like about 60% of you have polled. If you haven't done so, fast as fingers, click the radio dial button that applies. And 70%, I'll give you just another moment. On 3, 2, 1, click. All right, so it looks like 43% of you are on board. And so what I want to say to you again is thank you so much for fighting, to help your company, right? To help the industry and be a part of this Pittcon community. 57% of you are not yet contracted, and there could be many reasons that would be, which we're going to talk about in this webinar. But I hope that you will, whether you become a Pittcon exhibitor virtually or not, that you will continue to market, because I'm going to close this topic with that quote again: out of sight really is out of mind. And you do not want to go out of your customers' minds, especially during a crisis like this. Okay, so let's keep rolling. What I want to talk about now is why a virtual booth, right? Some of you, we'll launch a poll in a moment about your experience with virtual. Maybe some of you have participated in another virtual event and it didn't work out for you. Maybe your expectations weren't met. You didn't get what you wanted. That's what we're working hard here to make sure it doesn't happen with you at Pittcon. So here's the big idea, right? So number one, regardless, the pandemic has changed a lot of things, right? But you still have a business to run, right? You still have customers that you need to support and serve. Hopefully, you still have marketing and sales goals, right, that you're trying to achieve. So that would be my first reason why I think we need to get into the virtual game. And the second one is really important, right? So some of the more traditional sales and marketing channels, they're just not working right now. For example, with social distancing and all these safety protocols, it is really difficult to get in-person sales calls. It's very hard to walk into your customer's place of operations. So we're losing that, right? But also email. I don't know what you're seeing, but I know industry-wide right now, the open rate to emails, 80% of B2B emails are never opened, right? So 80%. And now with junk and spam filters changing literally like daily, it feels like, many of your emails that you think are being delivered might not even be delivered. I can speak personally to that because I've been having clients tell me they're not getting my emails, right? So that's my second big reason why I think, having a virtual presence is important as we go forward. My third reason is, again, we're back to these new problems. Excuse me. These new problems. New equals open mind, new equals opportunity. And that's that number 4, is that people's minds are, before they were like a tunnel, right? They were head down, they had a project they were working on, they kind of knew what they were doing. So their minds have switched from tunnel vision to funnel vision, right? They're wide open. And that's a great thing, because when people's minds are more open, it's easier to get your foot in the door, so to speak, right? And finally, a virtual exhibit is going to help your company keep your brand visible. It's going to help you interact and service customers. It's going to show your ongoing support for your industry. And if you do it right, the way we're going to show you, it's going to help you generate leads that will ultimately convert to business. So I want to launch my second poll of the afternoon here. I want to ask you, have you exhibited at a virtual expo prior to today? Or Pittcon, I'm sorry. Have you already been involved in a virtual? And I'll give you just a moment here. All right, we got 85% or 90% participation. I'm going to share the results on that. The Pittcon team can see. So it looks like 2 out of 3 of you have participated in a virtual event. So I think you understand it's important to continue marketing. Well, here's what I see as some of the advantages and the benefits of a virtual booth. Well, number one is travel, right? You or the attendee, you don't have to get on airplanes, right? You don't have to leave your business. So there's a big time savings for us all, not to mention the cost involved with traveling. And number 2, a virtual exhibit costs significantly less than a live exhibit. Let me close my poll here. Okay, yeah, so number 2, when you do a live trade show, the budgeting rule is floor space cost times 3 to 5, right? So when you do a virtual event, really the only hard cost is the cost of participating. Now, you may pick up additional costs in developing video, investing in marketing ops, but the budgeting rule of thumb for a virtual event is virtual exhibit cost times 2. So the fact that you're having to spend less money should make it easier for your company to get value and to get a return on your investment. Number 3, virtual events have the potential to make the event accessible to a larger audience. If you have a computer and if you have internet access, you can attend Pittcon anywhere in the world. And that creates a great opportunity for us, meaning the Pittcon and you, the exhibitor universe, to really partner together to promote collaboratively to draw the biggest audience that we possibly can. I was just part of a PAC Expo event last week that had 147,000 visitors. So the reach is there, but it doesn't happen automatically. Pittcon's going to do their part. They're going to do everything they can do to promote to get the scientific audience here, but you got to do your part too by promoting. Number 4, this is a big advantage. Okay, when Pittcon Live is over, it's over, right? When the doors close, when they closed back in March, we all walked away and it was over. But one of the benefits of the virtual space is that it is on demand for 3 months. So this extends the length of the event and the ability for you to still use your platform and the event in your ongoing communications. Number 5, intentional versus spontaneous interaction potential. Because you'll have the ability in the platform, there'll be some functionality that we're going to talk about visibility, because you'll have access to the Pittcon 20 pre-reg list, which has a very high year-to-year traction rate. You have the ability to be a lot more intentional. When you're at Pittcon Live, it's a really big show, right? And the attendees walk in the hall and they walk down the aisles and they kind of fall into booths at random. You got to be more intentional in this place. Number 6, something all of you as exhibitors that have been asking for years is data, right? You want analytics, you want data. Your virtual exhibit is going to have a digital footprint. So you're going to know more about how many people attended the event, how many visited your booth, what they did in your booth, right? And you're going to be able to run metrics on that to figure how well you executed. And number 7, finally, right? There's 3 primary reasons people attend events live. So we're talking about live. And what's interesting, these same three reasons still apply in the virtual world. Number one, they come to learn. As you know, this is a very scientific audience, so they're looking for content, right? They really want your subject matter experts on your platform. Number two, they come to network. And the Pittcon platform will have very robust networking functions, which we'll learn about as we go on. And number three, they come to find partners, find vendors, sourcing. So all three of these things are still in play in the virtual world. So those are some of the reasons why I think you want to embrace this in terms of why it all and the advantages of virtual. So now we got to talk. We have to have a very direct talk here about how virtual events are different, because I sense that a fair amount of the dissatisfaction that exhibitors have had with virtual events is partially due to not compensating for these differences. So number one, Pittcon or me or you, none of us, we don't have as much control over how much time the attendee spends at the virtual event. People spend their time where they perceive value, right? So Pittcon is going to do everything they can do to deliver the value proposition about why to attend the virtual event. You're going to have to be really good at communicating the value of visiting your virtual exhibit and interacting with your content and your staff. So we can't control how much time they spend, but we can influence it if we do a good job with our value propositions. The distraction level working on home is amplified. As a lot of people now with the pandemic, re-emerging, case count climbing, shelter in place is coming again. And so when people are at home, right, there's a lot of distractions. And here's probably the biggest difference. Please lock this one into your mind. And if you get nothing else out of this slide, please lock this into your mind. In the virtual world, attendees are not walking up and down the virtual exhibits and falling into booths at random. That means you're going to have to do a much better job of targeting who you want to see, coming up with that value proposition, and communicating with them before, during, and after the event, and giving them that compelling reason as to why they should come visit with you, consume your content, interact with your staff. Content marketing is king, right? That's what is driving people to virtual events and driving them to virtual exhibits. So you're going to have to really be thoughtful about what content you put up. And we're going to walk you through this in our future webinars. And rich media, the ability to take the functions of your virtual exhibit and optimize them. That both of these are critical success factors that we're going to hit. So here's one of my first pro tips for the virtual world. And please write this phrase down. Less is more. Less is more. Okay. So you're going to, if you have like 5 different categories of solutions and you have 10 or 15 products under each category, the best advice I can give you right out of the gate is do not try to bring and promote it all, right? You're going to want to come up with a hierarchy in terms of what your hook is, what your showstopper is. And you're always going to begin with NEW. If you have anything new, feature that. We know in the live trade show world, the primary reason people hit the exhibit hall, one of the top reasons is to see what and who is new. So my first advice to you is look at your portfolio of solutions, ask yourself what is new or what's new about something that we already do, and make that your lead. Second, which of your products or services are hot, right? They're trending. They're really speaking to the challenges the market is facing right now. Feature those, right? If it's hot, if it's trending, if it's on top of people's mind, that is very magnetic in its ability to pull people to your virtual booth. So feature that. And number 3, most companies, even those with multiple solutions, right? tend to have the 80-20 rule in place, where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your offerings. So what you're going to want to do, of course, is you're going to want to reinforce what we call your bread and butter or your pillar products and services. Beyond new, hot, topical trending and reinforcing pillar, leave everything else home. You can cross-sell anything after you get the engagement, but do not try to be everything to everybody in the virtual world. I'm going to close this slide with that quote again. Less is more. Pick your showstopper and really put all of your marketing power behind that. Okay, I'm going to bring Rocco on back to talk with you. Pittcon went through a pretty exhaustive process. He wants to help you understand some of the reasons why many of you who have struggled with other events, why we believe that Pittcon 2021 is going to be a better virtual event for you. So Rocco, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Jefferson. So moving on, why Pittcon 2021 will be a better virtual event. I'll say before I start going down the list here that this took quite some time to decide. I know that a lot of you stuck with us, originally had booths for Pittcon 2021 in New Orleans, excuse me, and stuck with us through the time as we were all trying to figure out how exactly Pittcon 2021 would look. We eventually did decide on the virtual event, so we're trying to make that a different virtual event. And the first way to do that is to come up with an objective. So our objective, simply put, was never to bring a face-to-face Pittcon into the virtual world, but instead to create a completely new and really distinctive virtual Pittcon experience. This is the biggest pitfall we've seen as we've attended other shows, as we've exhibited at other shows, as we've spoken to our exhibitors, which I'll get into next, is that people try to bring what works in the face-to-face world into the virtual world, and it simply cannot be done. It's never going to be the same. So the event that we have to create, that we had to create, that we are creating, is one completely distinctive to Pittcon, for Pittcon 2021, and from all other shows that may be similar to us. So our process then was that we asked our exhibitors what they wanted, what you wanted. We listened. We asked attendees what they found easiest to navigate, what would really keep them engaged in the platform. So we listened to our attendees, and finally we asked our program participants what they liked the best and what they didn't like about presenting at other shows. We listened to them because what the program, with program, you can tell if someone's not really into it. And if someone's not really into giving their lecture, excuse me, then they are likely not going to keep the attendees in the virtual platform. Going beyond that, we attended, we exhibited at numerous other virtual events, science shows such as ours. We observed, we tested. We really couldn't move forward as a virtual show without first collecting all this information for ourselves and from our partners, which is you, our exhibitors. Our scope for this whole process was that Pittcon really has always been a transnational event, and now Pittcon 2021 is, I'll make up a word, hyper international. We have access to attendees now and press from throughout the world, day and night, in all time zones. We want you, our exhibitors, to be able to show the world that it's really business as usual at your organization as we all hopefully navigate further toward the end of this pandemic come March 2021. Next, our draw. Our program really is an immense draw for international attendees with purchasing power at any level of their career, really. A strong program supports a strong expo, as you all know, and really vice versa. Some people do come for the expo and then they go to the program. We're trying to bridge a gap here that other shows really have not done in what we've seen while attending and exhibiting at those other shows. We want to draw program participants to the virtual expo floor. And so we're doing this in multiple ways. The one way that we're most excited about really is our sponsorship opportunities within our program itself. We haven't seen a lot of shows do this. We've seen smaller shows pull this off well, but not larger shows. We want to really engage these specific attendees directly. We want to give you the ability with which to engage them as well. And if some of these attendees for the virtual conference are just showing up for a series of talks, our symposia, maybe an awards session, or our numerous contributed sessions, we want to make sure that they have access to your booth from those sessions. And the way we're doing that is really beyond matchmaking, because it's attendee choice. It's attendee choice to go to those sessions. So it's really more, if you think about it, sort of an organic matchmaking / advertising. So finally, I know that I believe we mentioned this earlier, but if we haven't, our platform. I know that many people, are waiting to hear who we've partnered with, and we think that we've partnered with the best of the best, really here with virtual platforms, and that's LabRoots. We received a lot of feedback from exhibitors, from our partners within the industry, just really about the quality of the LabRoots platform, both for exhibitors and for attendees and for program presenters. So we had to vet them. We vetted a number of virtual platforms, and they really came out on top. And I can attest to, working with them directly has just been wonderful. I believe that's really going to show in the end result for users on both sides, that being, exhibitor and attendee. So if we can go to the next slide here. There we go. What Pittcon is doing to drive engagement at our virtual expo, Pittcon 2021. So you do have access to the Pittcon 2021 attendee lists, and those are really available to 2020 exhibitors. So many of you I know on this webinar did attend Pittcon 2020. I know that was a very strange and uncertain time for all of us. That is when the virus was really just starting to hit the United States, and it had already obviously been in Asia and was beginning to become very serious in Europe. But we still, I know a lot of you exhibited with us then. We thank you for that, and those lists are available. Many of our attendees show up at the same show year after year, so that's a good thing. Next, attendees are able to perform exhibitor searches in our platform by company, by products, and by services. We attended many shows that you could only search the exhibitors by their name. And that was not working for anyone. There were some that you can only search by like a track, just an overall field that they served. And I know that doesn't work for anyone. So we're making this search, again, in the end, it's making it easier for attendees. We want to make this as easy as possible for attendees to engage in the virtual expo floor. Next here, number 3, we're engaging attendees in the platform via messaging capabilities that you will all have as exhibitors, and direct to attendee sponsorships that are really, in-show, in-platform advertising opportunities. They're directing attendees, to your booth. And next, gamification. We all know this one. I believe that every show that we've attended, I'd say maybe 75% of the shows that we've attended, so I'm wrong there, not every show, uses gamification. Gamification is a word thrown around so much, and yes, we are using it. It's something that we have to do in the virtual expo world. It's going to incentivize, it's going to drive attendees to the exhibitor booths in many ways, but we offer sponsorships. Obviously, this is something that has carried over from the face-to-face. It's something that actually carries over very well into the virtual environment. These are really visual, for our virtual platform. We're offering those as such as, lobby banners in each lobby. These program sessions are big sponsorship opportunity that I'm very, very happy to be offering this year. And of course, we're doing some virtual events there that we think will be a great way to engage attendees first off, and then drive them to the booth of the sponsor, or simply just the expo floor. If we feel that if we can get attendees to the expo floor in general, the platform, such as it is, as visual as it is, will easily drive them into the expo halls. Number 6 here. This is the final one. Exhibitors really are assisted by us via our webinars. These webinars that we've partnered with Jefferson to give these best practice competitive edge webinars. We also have webinars coming up that is mid-December, December 14th, regarding our sponsorships. We're going to have different webinars regarding how to work the LabRoots platform. We've already had one of those, and we're really trying to make it easy on the exhibitors, both from a user end and an engagement end. And before we end here, I'd just like to add also that we're really finalizing some quick engagement mechanisms in the form of small virtual events within the platform. I mentioned gamification as our fourth item there. We're trying to augment a lot of these things, support a lot of them, bolster them by, having some small virtual events that are just outside of the norm. They're not sponsorships. They're really just intended to keep attendees interested, keep them engaged, while also really driving them to the expo floor. Yes, they're similar to gamification. They may not be as incentivized as gamification. We're taking a more, we want the attendees to feel like they're just organically, to use a buzzword, engaged in the platform. This isn't something they're being sold. This is something that's just of interest to them, that will drive them to the expo floor, that will drive them just to stay in the platform, because we know that the time that each attendee attends, is engaged in the platform, might just be for a program session, might just be for a few booth visits. And on the expo floor, we want to keep people a little more interested. We're all sitting at our desks. We're all going through the same, going to the same type of virtual shows, and we're trying to make ours a lot different. Again, the biggest thing, face-to-face show does not translate well into the virtual world. We have to create something brand new, and this is what we're doing with Pittcon 2021. So I will hand it back to Jefferson to wrap things up here, and thank you all again for letting me speak.
So let's kind of go forward then. So if you've been using the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center content we've had up for the last 3 or 4 years at Pittcon, you know that I am a very strategic thinker in terms of how to approach events and get value and get results. I'm always looking at the 80-20, the 20% of activities that generate 80% of the results. So in the virtual world, here's what I believe your critical success factors are going to be. Number one, I mentioned a moment ago, you've got to make sure that you're listed in the proper categories and you're using the right keywords for your solutions, because this is a primary way that attendees are going to navigate and find you. Number two, your content, from the way you write your company description, to the videos, to the documents that you upload, to how you use chat and Zoom meetings. All of this, the experience is, you're going to have to spend a little time on this. But again, we're going to chunk this down and give you the best practices that we've learned already through dozens of virtual events. Number three, if you get nothing else out of these 4 factors, this is an absolute critical success factor. You've got to proactively promote before, during, and after the event closes. And people are not walking up and down the aisles and falling into virtual booths at random. And because you are going to save a lot of money on all the other expenses of a live event, I would strongly encourage you to ramp up your promotional budget to make sure that you're in the mind and you get on the agenda of the right attendees, as much of that as possible before the event. And remember, Pittcon is going to do their part. You know that. They always do. They're going to turn over every leaf. They're going to spend every dollar they can find. But please, if I can give you one strong word of warning, do not just rely on Pittcon, because they're going to get them to the virtual event, but you got to do your part to get them to your virtual exhibit. And finally, capture, right? When they visit your exhibit, there's going to be levels of information that you're going to capture. When they engage with your content, you're going to capture additional. So you're going to want to get as much information from visitors, both through your capture device, your chats, and your meetings. And then, of course, you got to follow up, to get the visitor to take whatever that next step is. But if you really zero in on these 4 critical success factors and do them well, there's no reason why you should not be able to have a successful Pittcon virtual event and get a lot of value from the time and the money you invest. So let's talk planning here. Let's get you kind of thinking about, as a starting point, because we're going to break for the holidays, but I want you to follow these planning guidelines here. So number 1, why are you exhibiting virtually? Start with your reasons, right? And, the primary reasons why exhibitors are doing this: to connect with customers, to generate leads, to maintain brand visibility and presence, to educate, right? There may be opportunities for you to speak and educate both within the sessions and within your exhibit, to drive sales post-event, of course, to demonstrate thought leadership. And there may be other reasons. But what I want you to do is gather your team and ask yourself, what are the top 3 reasons we are exhibiting at Pittcon Virtual? And then reasons are not enough. I want you to take those reasons and try to convert them to specific goals, right? Reasons are the starting point, but they're not going to give the clarity and the focus to be able to actually execute. So I want you to set goals around the number of booth visitors, the number of chats you're looking to execute, the number of meetings you want to try to get set before the event opens, the number of leads that you're looking to capture, the announcements that you're going to make, what specific content you're going to teach around, your social connections. The virtual will give you a great opportunity to continue to build out your social network too, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever channels you're using, and set goals for that brand impact and that brand experience. What do you want the visitor to know, do, think, and feel as a result of interacting with your virtual exhibit? And do this stuff in writing. Okay, next is clearly define within this big universe that attends Pittcon who specifically you want to see. And I will say again, less is more. I would rather see you narrow down your target to 50 to 100 of the most important people that you could interact with. And don't worry about getting 300, 500, 700, 1,000, right? Just get enough of the right people and have a mix of customers, right, that you're going to spend quality time with. Get your prospects who are already in some form of dialogue with your company and identify your potential target accounts, your new accounts, and define them clearly. Come up with that value proposition, right? You've got to give them a reason out of all these virtual exhibits why they're going to click onto your booth, right? And what they're going to see, what they're going to do, what they're going to learn, and what they're going to get by spending 3, 5, 7, 15 minutes in your virtual exhibit. Determine your communication channels and lean heavily on digital channels, email, social media, maybe voice broadcast if you have phone numbers. Now, that being said, not a bad time to get back in the mailbox because very few companies are using direct mail. And if you come up with a really good mailer, that can kind of augment your digital channels. Number 6, your content. Really, remember, we said content marketing is king in the virtual world. So you're going to have to ask yourself what problems your attendees are having, how do your solutions help, and what can they learn by visiting your exhibit, and then make sure you've got the best content up. All those functions of your exhibit have to be optimized. This might sound simple, and I'm going to show you this in our webinar. You got to completely rewrite the company description or the about us part, because in many of the virtual platforms, this is the first piece of content the attendee sees when they're determining whether they are going to click in and enter or pass right by your virtual booth. And I'm going to give you a formula in our webinar on January. But you're also your video. There's some very specific things you have to do with your video. I'm going to show you how to do that in January. Promote, clear value proposition, and a clear call to action. Tell your target audience exactly what you want them to do. Like, put us on your show, virtual booth planner, schedule a meeting with us. Tell them, do not assume that they're going to know what action they should take. And number 9, we're going to have to get your staff prepared in how to interact with visitors in the virtual world. And we're going to cover that in our 2-part webinar series beginning the first week of January. So, speaking of those sessions, make sure you put a hard mark on your landscape on January 6th, right out of the gate. We're going to walk you through how to optimize your virtual booth. I will be doing a very deep dive of the entire platform, looking at every single exhibitor element, and we're going to give you best practices for every one of those. And then in February, we're going to take a deep dive in driving traffic to DIY stuff that you can do on your own and stuff that Pittcon makes available to you. So you've got a nice integrated marketing program. Then in that webinar too, we're going to get into the practices of staffing, working, and interacting with virtual attendees. So today was really a if you've had a bad experience with virtual, and many of you have, we hope you'll keep your mind open. We believe we've chosen a killer platform that's better than what you've been, and we're not going to leave you dangling in the wind in terms of what do you do, when do you do, how do you do it. We're going to bring everything we can to you over the next few months because we want you to win this virtual game. So I'm going to take a look in the question queue, and while I do, I'm going to toss it. We've got, it looks like Miranda and Stephanie. Rocco's having technical problems again. But Miranda, any additional thoughts or comments from Pittcon you would like to share?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for attending the webinar today. And I know a lot of exhibitors were asking about sponsorships, when they're going to open, when we're going to post them. We are actually going to host a sponsorship webinar December 14th, which is Monday, at 1:30 to 2:30 Eastern Time. The link is going to be posted on the exhibitor page on the Pittcon website later today. So if you haven't received the email yesterday, you can go there and register for the webinar.
Okay, thanks, Miranda. We've got a few questions. If they're not in your wheelhouse or you don't have an answer, we can follow up with exhibitors. But the first question is, you say the virtual world won't be like attendees where they walk the floor and see booths. Do you know at this point, Miranda, how the virtual show floor in general is going to look? So how will the attendees see these virtual exhibit booths?
So I know Stephanie is the leader on this, but we are still finalizing those details. As soon as we get those details, we will send out all of that information. And if I can talk to Stephanie after this, and if you can give me that email, I can send it to her. If we do know those details, we can send them directly to her as well.
Okay, I can tell you without having looked at this platform specifically, I have looked at 14 virtual event platforms. Typically how it works is there's a lobby So when the attendee enters, and it will kind of replicate like walking into a convention center, and then somewhere, and typically multiple places, there will be a enter the virtual exhibits. When they click and enter the virtual exhibits, it will typically simulate like a exhibit hall, and it will often have like maybe sponsors, maybe at top, and then it'll be by alphabetical, right? Typically, and then the attendee will have the ability also to use all kinds of search functions to find your booth directly. So it's not necessarily that they're going to within this hall, that hall view, because it's lobby, the exhibit hall directory, if you will, then your virtual booth. So what I want you to pay the most attention on is what you're going to do with your virtual booth, one, and how you're going to promote to get people say, oh, I got to go visit this booth. Miranda, what was the name of the platform? Rocco's audio was breaking up when he talked about the platform.
Yeah, we are using LabRoots.
LabRoots is the platform we're using. So certainly as exhibitors, you would have the ability to go and do a Google search and maybe look around their page if you wanted a little bit of a pre-con, before we do the big reveal of what we're doing. Let me see.
We do have a little like how-to video that LabRoots did produce for us. It's on our exhibitor page on the Pittcon website. So it kind of just goes through different aspects of the event, as well as little how-to videos. A LabRoots representative created for us, how to use the chat function. So there's little things that will be popping up, but those are on there right now on the website.
Okay, thank you. This is not a question, but a helpful suggestion from Carol Madden. Carol, thank you for the suggestion. It says, go to webinar, you always make sure you use an Ethernet cable and don't rely on Wi-Fi. Thank you so much for that suggestion. The question on the pre-reg lists, will email addresses be included with the pre-reg lists?
For the attendee credits? So you have an option to purchase the attendee list. So we use an outside vendor, we use Experian, and we can send out, there's a option on the website that has an email address if you have any additional questions, but email addresses are included in that, as well as mailing list. I don't know the exact cost, but
okay.
It's included in both.
Okay, so it sounds to me like if the attendee gave approval for the email to be in there, when you get the pre-reg list, the email address will be in the pre-reg list.
Yeah, and you do have to purchase these lists.
Okay, yeah, and they are for purchase. Yeah, okay. Let's see, next question, platform. Oh, this is a good one. It says the second webinar occurs after our booth materials are due. So how will this help us? So I guess the question, if I reframe it, Miranda, is once the exhibitor submits their content to be uploaded, can that be changed? Can they upload, let's say they sent documents, they want to upload new document, change their company description, maybe upload a new video. Do you know if that'll be possible?
I believe they can. However, Stephanie would have the exact answer to this. We're actually texting back and forth right now, so I don't know if she's texting me the answer. But if not, I will have her reach out to the person who asked that question directly.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and typically what I've seen so far, the majority of platforms, you typically have access to a booth builder, and it's a link that's unique to each one of you, and it kind of guides you through what step by step, what to upload when, gives you the specifications. And typically, like if you wanted to change a document or maybe change your company description, typically you're able to do that. So hopefully that'll be the case. Next question, Miranda. So will the lead be captured for every attendee that enters the booth, or do they have to take some action within the booth for the lead to be captured?
So it will be captured everyone in the booth, as well as everything that they do in the booth.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the
So
cool
that
thing is that
if they click on a PDF, they'll get a lead. I mean, not well, it will be the same lead, but it will tell you directly who it is.
yeah, typically there's different levels, but when they hit your booth, it's often captured who, when they visited, right? You'll know who visited, when they visited, and you'll have that basic data. Sometimes to capture more data than what's embedded in the capture, that's where exhibitors can use links to external landing pages. And that's where a lead magnet would come in play, where the capturing, and sometimes you have the ability to customize your capture, but we're going to be looking at all that as we get on, as we move forward. Let me see this. Yeah.
They will get an email address as well with the lead.
Okay, here's the next question. Is there an option to get an extension on submitting the booth grid? The grid was sent less than a week ago, and the deadline is December 16th.
I will have to ask Stephanie. She just texted me and said, sorry, the whole internet down. They just told me the whole internet down is down in the area. So
Can you all hear me?
yeah, Rocco, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm actually now on my iPhone hotspot. So if Stephanie, if you want to come in here, we can answer that question for you. And there is something that I wanted to review before we did end the webinar for anyone that's staying on here and hanging through lunch a little bit. But we can answer Stephanie's question. Here she comes. So I'll let her take the mic real quick just to answer that question and any other expo related ones that we have.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay,
yes.
so yes, okay. So as far as the booth grid goes, I am working with LabRoots right now, and I know only a few of you have the grid, so you feel free to send me an email. But I'm working with LabRoots right now to see if we can get some type of extension on those, maybe availability to upload certain assets as you go, but I do not have a definite answer right now. So just please email and we can work together on that for your specific booth.
All right. Yeah, I guess the big recurring question and concern is that exhibitors are concerned that it's not possible to plan and complete our uploads by next week. And so hopefully we can get an extension into shortly after that first webinar where we're going to do that deep dive on optimizing content. And maybe there was a hiccup on this deadline. And hey, here's what I want to tell every exhibitor. Every show organizer that I've worked with so far, these virtual event vendors are completely overrun. They're overbooked. Some of them are understaffed. And so sometimes what they promise and what they can deliver time-wise gets pushed back. And often that is not a show organizer-driven issue. Sometimes it's coming from the vendor. Thoughts on that, Miranda, Rocco?
Yeah, Jefferson, you're correct. So I just know with the size of our show, of course, LabRoots is amazing. They're doing their best to keep things moving. So after the booth grid is submitted, there's actually a few review periods that take place after that. They get your grid, they build the booth out, and then they send you a few samples of the booth for your input, your corrections, and then it gets finalized. So they do, of course, need some time to work on that as well as the rest of the platform. But again, I'll do my best to get in touch with them, see what we can do, try to give you the most time as possible to get things done.
Yeah, Stephanie, so ask them, let them know that we're doing a deep dive webinar on January 6th on optimizing their digital assets. And if they have the ability, given that the event is not till the first week of March, if they have the ability to allow revisions up till the end of January would be ideal. Okay,
Yes,
let me see
I
if we,
agree, yeah.
yeah, let's see. I think that's it, what we're seeing for questions. Want to apologize everybody for the technical glitches. These things happen. This webinar was recorded. We will be uploading the replay. I'm not sure if or how we'll be able to deal with the Rocco's part. Maybe I'll have him re-record that part, and we'll also upload that. But the most important webinars that are coming will be the January 6th optimization and the February 9th driving traffic and engaging. So any closing thoughts, Miranda, Stephanie, Rocco, before we log off today?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for attending and for dealing with our internet issues here. I will send what I have for the slides that were the ones that I was supposed to be speaking on, but I just wanted to leave it with this. I think the biggest pitfall in virtual shows, as we've seen, as we've all been to them, as we've all attended or exhibited at them, is when organizations try to transition a face-to-face show to a virtual one. It can't be done. It's not to be done, and the results of we all seen are pretty apparent. And I think that what we did in preparing for this show is that we listened to our exhibitors, we listened to our attendees, we even listened to our program participants to say, what is the best thing that we can do for a virtual show? What are the best elements that we can bring in? What are things that you've seen? What are things that we can do to create a completely new virtual environment? And going back to what I said, the biggest pitfall is transitioning and believing that you can bring a face-to-face show to the virtual world. You can't do it. You have to create a new, distinctive virtual environment, and that's what we're attempting to do with Pittcon 2021. So thanks again for everyone for sticking with us today through technical issues, and we hope to see you in the January webinar.
All right, thanks, Rocco. Hey, one final question. Is there a deadline for signing up for a virtual booth?
Deadline for signing up for a virtual booth is January 29th.
January 29th. Okay, well, thank you so much. All right, thanks everybody for logging in. Bear with us, this is new to everybody, but we're gonna do everything we can do. So we will see you again very soon. In the interim, if we don't chat, the sponsorship webinar next week, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Be sure to register for that. And have a great holiday season. Looking forward to helping all of you get ready for a great 2021. Let's get past this pandemic and let's knock this virtual event out of the park.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.